One, two, three.
Imagine working incredibly hard for an organization, devoting all of your free time and effort into improving it, and helping this organization earn hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue every year. Yet you never see a single dime for all of your efforts. This is the current reality for collegiate student athletes across the country. Let's take a closer look into this reality by looking into the schedule of a typical student athlete. A 2011 CBS report based on a survey of over 50,000 Division I student athletes found that a typical Division I college football player devotes over 43.3 hours per week to the football program. This is through practices, workouts, film study, and game times. Additionally, college baseball players also reported spending an average of 42.1 hours per week, and Division I college basketball players reported spending 39.2 hours a week on official athletic events. That is as much or more than the average American full-time work week and does not even account for the additional time spent on academic activities. As a rule of thumb, for every hour spent in class, college students should spend at least 3 hours outside of the class to be successful. Most athletes take around 15 credit hours per semester, which equates to a total of around 60 hours per week on academic activities. This schedule leaves no time for student athletes to work a job to earn extra income. It is difficult enough for any normal full-time college student to work a job. It is impossible for student athletes to do so. Aside from financial issues, student athletes' educational opportunities are also often limited, as certain majors and classes can be restricted by what will fit around busy practice and meeting schedules. While many student athletes receive scholarships, that is simply not enough. According to a 2011 study released by the National Collegiate Players Association, 86% of college athletes live below the poverty line. Aside from tuition and boarding expenses, the cost of living for an average college student typically includes vehicle expenses such as fuel and insurance, food and grocery bills, cell phone bills, and clothing, just to name a few. According to a 2016 article posted by U.S. News and World Report, the typical living expenses for the average college student range from $11,800 on a low budget to $17,600 on a moderate spending plan. Many student athletes also come from low-income families, who without scholarships would be unlikely to afford college tuition for their students. While these scholarships are a great opportunity for student athletes, this also means that many of these families are not financially able to support the living expenses for these students. While many student athletes are struggling to make ends meet, the NCAA reported in 2016 a revenue of $996 million. This does not include revenues from TV deals, conferences, and individual athletic departments. USA Today compiled a list of the 2016 revenues of the top 230 NCAA athletic departments. Texas A&M topped the list at $194.3 million. 28 of the schools brought in over $100 million. The combined revenue of the 230 athletic departments is $9.7 billion in the year 2016. In addition, the highest paid public employees in 39 out of 50 states are actually head coaches at either the football or basketball teams for the state university. This is according to a 2016 Business Insider report. Leading the list of these highest paid coaches is the University of Michigan's head football coach, Jim Harbaugh, with an annual salary of $9 million. With the amount of revenue brought in by college athletics between the NCAA and individual schools, affordability of a simple compensation plan for student athletes should not be an issue. Just to be clear, I am not advocating that student athletes be paid large salaries like professional athletes receive. The purpose of a compensation plan would not be for student athletes to become wealthy, but simply to cover basic living expenses. I would propose a plan in which student athletes should receive a stipend based on the average living expenses of a typical college student. To remain fair, this should be an equal amount across all teams and positions. In addition to the stipend, players would also receive 5% of all profits received from licensing and merchandise which bears their name or likeness. This money would be accumulated into a trust fund which would be transferred to the student after graduation. An important component of this plan is also guaranteed medical benefits, in which the student athlete would never be financially liable for medical bills due to injuries sustained while participating in an official school-sponsored athletic event. While this should be common sense, in many cases schools have unfairly placed this burden on student athletes and their families. In closing, it is easy to see how much revenue universities are accruing based on the time and effort that student athletes have put into representing their universities. It is only reasonable that these young men and women are compensated enough to at least cover basic living expenses for their hard work and dedication. If it weren't for these student athletes, many colleges would not exist today as we know them.